As we leave the station, if you look to the right side of the tram, you're going to see Independence Plaza. You can get to Independence Plaza by making your way through the Starship Gallery inside Space Center Houston. Now that is a real Boeing 747, one of the first ones they ever built. But that's a high-fidelity mock-up of the shuttle Independence, previously called Explorer. And they did use this shuttle to train the astronauts on, so it does look like the real thing, down to the very last detail. It's just made of cheaper materials. We are now departing Space Center Houston and beginning our journey to the Johnson Space Center, one of 10 NASA field centers in the heart of human spaceflight operations for the past 50 years. Few people know this, but the land that JSC sits on was previously owned by Rice University, who gifted the land to JSC in 1962. Prior to that, Umbo Oil Company, now known as ExxonMobil, owned the land which was mostly farmland at the time. We're about to make our way through the Space Center Houston black hole. When we come out the other side, we'll find ourselves on Johnson Space Center grounds, and maybe the weather be a little bit more pleasant. I bet you guys didn't know that's what a black hole would look like. So now I'd like to welcome you to Johnson Space Center grounds. If you look to the left side of the tram into that pasture, you're going to catch a really good glimpse of those Texas famous longhorns. Now, we get the question all the time, why does NASA have a bunch of cows? Number one, they're actually called steer. Two, we're teaching these guys to jump over the moon. I'm just kidding, that'd be utterly ridiculous. This area is used for students who join the Future Farmers of America program, and they can come here and learn about farming and agriculture. George Abbey, the center's director at the time, was looking for ways to get back to the community whenever he came across an old photograph of a longhorn grazing on this very land. Say collaborative local schools and businesses to create the Longhorn Project. Not only do they educate thousands of children every year about farming and agriculture, they also hold biology lessons here. And yes, those guys are real. NASA would not waste their time making animatronic animals. I get that question quite a lot. Now on the right side of the tram, inside the large white building, is a wheeled Saturn V rocket. It is not a mock-up, and it would have been used for our future Apollo missions, such as Apollo 18. It is currently the tallest, heaviest, and most powerful rocket ever flown. It does take up the entire length of that building, even more so than the painting on the side. It stands at 363 feet tall, making it 60 feet taller than the Statue of Liberty, and it weighed 6.5 million pounds on the launch pad. So this rocket is quite the monster. In addition to this Saturn V, we have two other rockets on the outside of the building. The smaller rocket on the right side with the red missile on the top is called the Mercury Redstone. That is the same model rocket that Alan Shepard, the first American astronaut in space, rode during his 15-minute flight into space. And a fun fact about that rocket, it's actually not a rocket at all. That is a converted ballistic missile. During the start of the NASA program, they started to borrow from the military ballistic missiles, and then they would convert them into rockets. And I can only imagine the conversation that went on between Alan Shepard and the engineers whenever they asked him, "Do you want to be strapped to the top of a missile and launched into space?" But apparently he thought it was a good idea, because he definitely did do it. Now the second rocket, the taller one just to the left of that, is ironically called Little Joe 2. This rocket tested a total of 5 unmanned missions between the years of 1963 and 1966. It was used to test out the launch escape system and the parachutes for the Apollo program. And the launch escape system is going to be that white missile that's on the top. If there's something wrong with the rest of the rocket where the crew inside the capsule are in danger, then those launch escape systems will automatically activate, and then we'll pull the capsule off the rocket and take them to safety. Luckily, we've never had to use it, and we don't plan on it if we can help it. And if you miss any pictures of the rockets here at Rocket Park, do not worry. This is our third and final stop here, and it's a self-guided tour of Rocket Park, so you can stay here as long as you'd like. And now we're officially driving on to Johnson Space Center grounds. As you look around, you may notice it was built to look like a college campus. This was not a coincidence. This was actually intentional. They wanted to keep up the spirit of collaboration and innovation. And I mentioned that Rice University used to own this land. Well, they still kind of do. So if NASA were to not succeed, Rice University can then convert JSC into a satellite campus. And a lot of people think that the NASA program has been canceled for the last couple of years. And that really makes me sad, because here at Johnson Space Center, we are pretty much the heart of NASA. There is no official title for that, but we're in charge of a lot of projects here that pretty much gives us that title, like the building you see on the right side of the tram. This is Building 17, our home of the Orion. our nation's next generation space fleet. Astronauts will ride Orion far beyond low Earth orbit, on to deep space missions to asteroids and to Mars. We're leading this historic development effort from here in Houston. Mega Johnson Space are responsible for the Orion crew module, crew training, and mock-up facilities, as well as mission control. And on the other side of Building 17 is where they have the Food Science Lab. Here, they have freeze-dried food that can be stored up to 2 years at room temperature so the astronauts can have something to eat while they're in the depths of space. Although it is kind of time-consuming, and it's kind of expensive, so it's not that efficient. So we started planting seeds on the International Space Station to see if we can actually grow anything. And lo and behold, we grew a head of lettuce, which doesn't sound that exciting. But that is extremely exciting for us, knowing that we're able to grow food out in zero gravity, maybe even on another celestial body, such as the moon or Mars itself, and we can mix it with the freeze-dried food made in Building 17, we'll have more than enough supplies for our astronauts while they're in the depths of space. Since the Orion mission is going to be the longest mission that we've ever sent any human being on, so we want to make sure that they're absolutely prepared as far as supplies and their bodies go, which we'll learn a little bit more about the Orion program as the tour goes on. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're approaching our first stop on our NASA tram tour. I'm going to ask you guys to please remain seated until we've come to a full and complete stop in front of the building. And once we do, we're going to exit on the right side of the tram and the right side only. And I'll be coming from the back of the tram, so you're going to follow me into the building. And before you hop off the tram, just go ahead and look at it now. That black row number that is directly ahead of you, it's on the back of that seat directly ahead of you. Please remember this because we ask you to return to these same seats after our stop here at Orion Mission Control. If we can get loaded up efficiently and quickly, we'll have more than enough time at each and every stop on tour today. And we do have to be polite to each other as we enter the building and hold the door open for the folks behind us, because apparently there was no room in the budget for door stoppers for this building. And we can exit on the right side. I'll be coming from the back of the tram. You can follow me in. Please remember that row number directly ahead of you.
Hey, go ahead.
Right? Where are we going?
Alright guys, go follow me.
Oh, that's him?
Yeah, so we moved
That's the announcer?
The crazy one. He's in the back of the thing announcing stuff.
He sounds a lot different.
Okay, so we go behind you.
Thank you.
They got the door.
Alright guys, so whenever the group ahead of us clears out of the way and I've gone over the rules for this building, we can head on upstairs. I don't have a whole lot of time to talk about the consoles that you see here as much as I'd love to, because I do love to talk about these. But these are the 3 different generations of consoles they've had in Mission Control throughout the years. And if our presenter upstairs doesn't really mention them or doesn't talk about them, then I'd be more than happy to answer those questions when we're heading back out to the tram after I stop here.
And that's probably the news.
See, the center one, those are like the computers that Daddy used a lot when he was a little bit younger than I am now. Yeah, and then to the right is a late generation.
Yeah, that one's the one that we started with.
Hey, if you'd like to, you can step closer and get a good picture or read those descriptions on each and every desk as well.
1996. We should get somewhere. We should get some to school. That was good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I just need a moment of silence. Alrighty guys, now to go over the rules for this building before we head on upstairs. It's going to be a lot of the same rules throughout the duration of the tour. So if we can just hear them this time and just continue to follow them throughout the duration of the tour, we'll have absolutely no problems. And I would like to remind you guys that we did leave the museum and we are now officially on government property. So at this time, please set cell phones to silent, vibrate, airplane mode, or off as long as they don't go off during the presentation. Any camera devices that have a flash on it, please have that flash turned off for us. We encourage as many pictures as possible, but it is a Monday, and there's a great possibility that there's people training in the room that we're about to go visit today. And they can see us just as well as we can see them, and we do not want to disturb them. So please have the flashes on any camera devices turned off. We're going to be making our way up a total of 54 steps. If there are any physical or medical reasons you cannot climb the stairs, you're going to meet up with our driver, Jack, and he's going to be right here next to the elevator. But if you are capable of taking those 54 steps, please go ahead and do so. Leave the elevator for those who really need to use it. The less people that use the elevator, the faster we can get you guys upstairs and seated to start the presentation. And once you do get up to the room, please choose any row that you'd like to sit in. Just do me a huge favor, move all the way down to the right side of the room before you take a seat. That way we can fill the seats up from the right to the left without having to crawl over each other's laps to get to a seat. But if there are no more seats left, or if you do prefer to stand, please stand behind the counters in the back of the room. I promise there is no obstruction of view, and you won't be there long enough for your feet to get tired. We just cannot sit or standing in the stairwells beside the rows just in case there's an emergency. If we have any little ones that happen to get a little bit too loud or fussy during the presentation, not to worry, we do completely understand. There is a lobby you can take them out to upstairs, and as soon as they calm down, you're more than welcome to join us for the duration of the presentation. And one more very important thing, as soon as we set foot into the stairwell, we have to keep our voice down to a whisper or completely off. There are people working in offices surrounding us throughout the entire building, and once we get up to the top, current mission control for the International Space Station is literally 15 feet away from us to the right, and they can sometimes hear us. If they think we're a little bit too loud, they can and they will ask us to leave, and they will stop all tours remaining to this building for the rest of the day. And it has been done before. We just don't want to be that group. But if we can follow these rules, we'll have absolutely no problem on tours today. So that will cover the rules for this building. If you need assistance with those 54 steps, please meet up with our driver, Jack. Otherwise, follow me up those lovely 54 steps.
Lovely 54 steps.
Curtis keeps on stepping on my shoes.
What the fuck? You keep on. Come on, say it.
I have to put on my shoes. I really need the elevator.
No, you don't. It's exercise.
Watch my video.